So today we're doing two NBA player props here on PrizePicks for Wednesday, December 13th. For a pretty massive slate here, NBA Wednesday. Before we get started, link in the description below. Hop into our premium Discord, $9.30 per month. It's where I post all the plays I'm making on PrizePicks. We also have other premium cappers in there as well. They post all of their plays, research, and analysis. Overall, super positive community in there. Everyone just trying to help each other cash. I also want to mention I'm not a gambling expert and this is not financial advice. Simply plays I'm personally looking at making. Hopefully giving you guys some insight and analysis to then make your own player prop decisions here. Again, no one's pressing submit on those parlays other than yourselves. But let's get right into it, you guys. Two NBA player props here for Wednesday, December 13th. Let's not waste any time. Let's get right after it. The first play is going to be Victor Wembanyama, and I'm targeting his over 36 PRA. If I can find it. Here we go. 36 PRA for Victor Wembanyama. Pushed this line and went over this line in his last two games. Greg Popovich has moved Victor Wembanyama to the center position here. Look at this matchup versus the Lakers. It's actually 2-point spread. Sorry, 230.5 over under, but a 2-point spread, which is interesting. Lakers are coming off a back-to-back where we did see LeBron and AD both play deep, significant minutes. So I could definitely see a scenario where the Lakers sit one of these guys. Obviously, if one of them sits, this game could be a lot closer. But overall, I think Victor Wembanyama is going to play a decent amount of minutes. 33 is what RotoWire is projecting him for. And like I said, he's been playing the center position. Okay, so Victor Wembanyama, his points plus rebounds plus assists game log this season. We look at his last two games. He's had 24 RA and 21 RA over his last two games. Had 36 PRA against Houston, only scored 15 points, shot 7 for 15 from the field. So it's not a decent field goal percentage. Just really the volume wasn't there for him, in my opinion. Only made one 3-point attempt and only took one free throw attempt as well, which you can see here greatly kind of impacts the way he's able to fill up the stat sheet. And score points. But we look at this, at least 35 PRA in 6 of his last 7 games. So the floor for this play, like I said, seems to be very high. We look at Victor Wembanyama, his points plus rebounds plus assists game log this season when he plays at home and he logs 30 plus minutes. At least 33 PRA in every single game, and push this line in 6 of 8 games. So, like I said, the floor for this play very high. We look at over on Outlier. Again, there's a link in the description. You get a 7-day free trial with Outlier. This is a research betting tool that I do use every day. Currently, on most books, he's at 35.5, but just insane juice something over. Minus 157 on Caesars, minus 150 on DraftKings, minus 145 on BetMGM. Took over 35.5 PRA. We'll take the 1 point over here at 36. We know PrizePicks does this when plays are heavily juiced on the over, they're gonna bump them. But at 36, I still like it. I think this has elite push potential, obviously. But we look at last two games for Victor. Like I said, just take a look at his splits, home versus away. He averages 20, 10, and 3, so right around almost 34 PRA this season at home. Splits, shooting splits, rebounds, assists all go up significantly when he does play at home. But we look at his last two games, right? Since he's been the starting center, you can see here Popovich is playing him at the 5, moving Zach Collins to the bench, and then also the other big that gets a little bit of minutes, Bassi, recently tore his ACL. So Wembanyama locked in for 30 plus minutes regardless. But his last two games, like I said, 26.5 rebounding chances over his last two games since he's been the center, as well as 7 potential assists over his last two games, converting 3.5 of those. He's actually making 34.5 passes as well each of those last two games. Just a ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous, over 30 RA chances over his last two games since being the starting center here. And then the Lakers, you would think on paper are kind of a tough matchup, but for bigs, bigs have been playing pretty well. We've seen 7 different bigs, or essentially centers, have cleared this line this season versus Lakers, and we've seen 6 more. So 13 total centers or bigs have hit 30 PRA. So like I said, the floor for this play pretty high in my opinion. I think playing against LeBron or AD or both of them or neither of them, just against the Lakers, I'm expecting Wemby to show out, and him being at the center position, I think, should not be overlooked. So Victor Wembanyama over 36 PRA is the first play. Second play is going to be a fantasy score line, and I am looking at, where is he? I'm looking at OG Anunoby over 28.5. This is just a great matchup for him. Super fast pace. We look at this game, Toronto versus Atlanta. This has a 241 over under. 241 over under for this game, which again, for a Toronto team that doesn't really play that fast, a significant pace up matchup for them. But we look at OG Anunoby over an outlier, right? We look at some odds that obviously correlate to his fantasy score. He's minus 250 to get a steal tonight, which Atlanta ranks 20th against opponent steals. Over 18.5 points plus assists, minus 130. Over 1.5 steals plus blocks, minus 150 over on DraftKings. And then his over 23.5 PRA, minus 130 on DraftKings as well. So all of those, I think, positively correlate to, I guess essentially his fantasy score line. Books obviously don't have a fantasy score line here. We look at his fantasy score game log this season. Played pretty well as of late. Is over this line in 2 of his last 4. But 2 of those 4 games those 2 games that he did go over, 45.6 fantasy and coming off a 39 fantasy point game against the New York Knicks. And the minutes are just absolutely going to be there for OG. Last 3 games, 39, 36, and 37 minutes for him. And like I said, just an elite matchup versus the Atlanta Hawks. We look at the Hawks again. OG, the Raptors kind of just play an interesting. They run Anunoby, Barnes, and Siakam, who I think all are interchangeable at the 2, 3, and 4. Like literally, they all play that position. So we're just talking about wings in general against the Hawks. And the Hawks against small forwards allow the 3rd most fantasy points. Against power forwards here, they allow the 3rd most fantasy points. To shooting guards as well, they allow the 10th most fantasy points. So again, just the wings, they've been getting absolutely dominated. We know the Atlanta Hawks play the 3rd fastest pace, and they also have the 4th worst defensive rating. So it's just a great spot. OG, all of his stats go up at home versus away. Averages more points, rebounds plus assists, and steals at home and blocks at home compared to on the road. We look at other forwards fantasy score game log this season versus the Hawks. I mean, just a ton of guys have gone absolutely crazy against the Hawks. Obviously, Mikal Bridges had 68. Jason Tatum 50, Sochan 49, Mikal Bridges 49, and you could compare Anunoby to a player like Sochan, a player like Mikal Bridges, a player like a Keldon Johnson 40.7, Max Strus 37, Jaylen Brown 34.9. So I mean, even just the line of 17, 6, 3, and 1 for OG tonight, I think it's a great spot at 31.7. You can see Cam Johnson did that. So Anunoby over 28.5 fantasy, Wembanyama over 36 PRA. Let me know in the comments below how you feel about these 2 plays. Drop a like, hit that subscribe button, and as always, let's cash.